What if the universe decided it had enough, and the very rules holding it together just gave up? Tonight, we're staring into that impossible abyss. Imagine for just a moment that the world you know isn't as solid as you think. What if the underlying code of existence, the grand program running our reality, suddenly crashed? This isn't just about a natural disaster or a global catastrophe. This is about the fabric of everything unraveling, a thought experiment so chilling it confronts the very foundations of our understanding of the universe. We're talking about a sudden, catastrophic failure of the governing laws and structures that make reality, well, real. The consequences? Absolutely unimaginable. And the question remains, what happens when the universe itself loses its mind? The initial moments would be pure, unadulterated chaos. Forget your worst nightmare. This is beyond anything our minds are equipped to process. One minute you're sipping your coffee, maybe scrolling through your phone, and the next, the very constants of physics, those unwavering truths we've built all our science on, begin to flicker. Gravity, for instance, isn't just a gentle pull downwards anymore. It might fluctuate erratically, making objects lighter 1 second, then pinning them to the floor with crushing force the next. Cars would float away like balloons only to smash back down, while people might find themselves inadvertently defying gravity, only to plummet without warning. And it wouldn't stop there. The building blocks of matter themselves would become unstable. That coffee cup in your hand, it might spontaneously vanish, then reappear as a flock of startled pigeons, or perhaps just a shimmer of light before turning back into ceramic, or maybe something entirely alien. Imagine walking down the street and a tree just dissolves into thin air, only for a giant, pulsating jellyfish to materialize in its place, just as quickly fading away. The very atoms that form your body, your home, the air you breathe, would lose their definition. The fabric of space-time, usually a smooth, predictable canvas, would ripple and tear, forming strange temporary wormholes or pockets where time might run backwards or stand still. Even the fundamental forces that hold everything together, electromagnetism, the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, would lose their coherence. Electricity might cease to flow, then surge unpredictably, causing all electronics to either die instantly or explode in a blinding flash. The strong nuclear force, which binds atomic nuclei, might weaken, turning every solid object into a fizzing radioactive mess, or strengthen in pockets, creating areas of impossibly dense, unmovable material. And the weak nuclear force, responsible for radioactive decay, might accelerate, causing objects to age and crumble into dust in seconds, or halt entirely, leaving everything in an eerie state of suspended animation. Our understanding of reality would instantly become obsolete, replaced by a terrifying, unpredictable quantum dance. The manifestations of this broken reality would seep into every corner of our daily lives, transforming the mundane into the horrifying. Buildings, once monuments to human ingenuity, would lose their structural integrity, crumbling into dust or twisting into impossible geometries. Imagine your apartment building suddenly collapsing inward like a black hole, then reforming as a colossal pixelated image of a cartoon character before stabilizing as a solid, but utterly foreign, structure. Material permeability would become a nightmarish game. You might reach for a doorknob and find your hand phasing right through it, or worse, through a solid wall, leaving you trapped or disoriented. The very laws of cause and effect, the bedrock of our logical universe, would simply cease to hold. You flip a light switch, and instead of the light coming on, your pet cat might suddenly start speaking fluent Latin, or the sky outside might turn plaid. Actions would no longer guarantee predictable reactions. This means walking would not necessarily lead to forward motion, and eating might not satiate hunger. The environmental instability would be profound. The sun, our reliable celestial clock, might rise and set several times within an hour, or stay frozen in the sky for days. Rain might fall upwards, rivers might flow into the clouds, and the ground beneath your feet could suddenly become water, then air, then back to solid earth, without warning. But perhaps the most profound horror would be deeply personal. Imagine witnessing your loved ones in a flicker of an eye, unravel into nothingness, their form dissolving like an old photograph, their voices echoing into silence. Or perhaps they would experience grotesque physical mutations, limbs becoming impossibly long, skin turning to crystal, faces rearranging into alien patterns. And the worst part? You might be next. The body, our most intimate reality, would be subject to the same arbitrary rules, constantly shifting and reforming. This isn't just loss, it's the fundamental assault on who and what we are. The psychological impact of such a reality would be catastrophic. Our sense of identity, our very purpose, is rooted in a stable, predictable reality. Without it, sanity would become a relic of a bygone era. Every fiber of our being yearns for order, for patterns, for cause and effect. When these are constantly undermined, the human mind, unprepared for such a barrage of sensory and existential overload, would buckle. Panic would sweep through humanity like an unstoppable plague, quickly followed by a pervasive paranoia. Who or what is causing this? Is it random, or is there a malevolent force at play? Every strange occurrence, every flicker of instability, would fuel an insatiable terror. An existential crisis, deep and pervasive, would grip every living soul. What is the meaning of life when life itself is a fleeting, arbitrary arrangement of molecules? Our understanding of ourselves, our place in the cosmos, would be obliterated. The concept of sanity itself would become blurred. Is it insane to believe in the old rules, or to adapt to the new chaotic ones? People might develop entirely new, fractured ways of perceiving the world, finding patterns where there are none, or creating elaborate internal narratives to cope with external madness. Society, as we know it, would crumble not just physically, but mentally, as collective delusion and individual terror take hold. In such a broken reality, humanity's very existence would be thrown into question. Our biological processes, so finely tuned to a stable environment, would be constantly under assault. Food might lose its nutritional value, or our bodies might simply stop processing it correctly. Air might become toxic one moment, breathable the next. The delicate chemical balances that sustain life could simply wink out of existence. This could lead to mass extinction, not through a single event, but through a constant, grinding erosion of the conditions necessary for life. Environmental factors, utterly unpredictable, would add to the threat. Tidal waves might crash inland, then freeze solid, then evaporate instantly. Landscapes would warp and shift, creating death traps where cities once stood. Our societal structures, built on shared understanding and predictable environments, would collapse. Communication would become impossible if the laws of sound or light faltered. Cooperation would vanish in the face of constant, individual survival struggles. Problem solving, our species' greatest strength, would be rendered useless if the problems themselves defy all logic and consistency. How do you solve a problem that changes its definition every second? Humanity's capabilities would be severely hampered, reducing us to mere playthings in a universe that has gone mad. Yet, amidst the despair, could there be a twisted form of opportunity? Perhaps this ultimate catastrophe is also a glimpse into the fundamental nature of existence. If our reality is just one configuration, what does its shattering reveal about the underlying source code? Like a broken mirror, each shard might reflect a different, hidden dimension, offering tantalizing glimpses into what lies beyond our conventional understanding. We might uncover new forms of energy, new scientific principles that were previously impossible to conceive because they required a reality free from our current limitations. This catastrophic failure could be the ultimate scientific experiment, revealing the essence of existence itself. And what about the human spirit? In the face of such overwhelming odds, our resilience and adaptability might shine through in unprecedented ways. Perhaps pockets of humanity, or even individuals, would evolve, developing new senses, new ways of processing information, or even new physical attributes to navigate a shattered world. We might learn to perceive the subtle shifts in reality, to anticipate the glitches, or even to manipulate them to some degree. It would force a radical redefinition of reality, pushing us to find ways to not just survive, but to thrive within the chaos. Could this be the ultimate test, forging a new kind of humanity, an evolutionary leap born from the ashes of a broken universe? It's a terrifying thought, but perhaps in the deepest, darkest corners of the unknown lies the key to an entirely different future. If you found yourself staring into the abyss of a broken reality, wondering what's next, hit that subscribe button for more journeys into the impossible.